All right, and welcome back to Mettle Labs. Today is February 25th, Friday. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
I got my brother Kishiro with me, and this is going to be a follow-up from our first discussion. And let's start with the notion that, the last time you were here,
Mm-hmm.
um, you shared your experiences as being um, a victim of child abuse,
Mm-hmm.
sexual assault when you were young, and uh, at that time you were sharing that this was your first time, like announcing it to the world that this was an experience that you endured, you suffered,
Mm-hmm.
and so first and foremost, what was that like to come on a stage, the platform like this, and then and share that really personal information?
Um, it was what's the word? Freeing.
Okay, good.
You know,
Yeah.
like I felt like I'd been freed from it before,
Yeah.
but talking about it publicly,
Yeah.
I felt more like okay,
Yeah.
now what? What's next?
Right. Right.
Like
Yeah.
I've done what I felt like I need to do for me.
Yeah.
Who else have I impacted by,
Mm.
sharing this information?
Yeah. Okay. And so that being said, I'm sure that family,
Mm-hmm.
friends. When I say family, your immediate family, and then also extended family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I suspect that number of people are aware of this now. So, like, what's been some of the feedback? Like, what's that experience been like?
Well, first, immediate family.
Mm-hmm.
So my oldest daughter, actually, both of my kids knew because I told them a long time ago. Like I said, I have a podcast with three friends,
Yeah.
and I talked about it on there,
Mm.
and so I wanted to make sure they knew about it from me
Mm.
before they heard it from somebody else.
Yeah.
But I feel like my oldest daughter seeing our episode,
Mm.
she actually watched it,
Wow.
and she came back to me and she was like, "Daddy, like, I felt so bad for you." Like, she
Wow.
gave me a big hug.
Yeah.
And she said she cried watching it because
Mm.
it was just different seeing me talk about it
Yeah.
versus me telling her.
Yeah.
It had a different effect on her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it definitely. I didn't expect that.
Okay.
Yeah, I
All right.
really didn't expect it from her. I thought they was gonna be like, okay, we already knew about it,
Yeah.
and that was it. But it definitely
Wow.
had a different effect on her.
Wow. Interesting.
Very.
Yeah. Yeah. And so and so much to the point where watching and experiencing it, she was brought to tears, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like what did that feel like in the moment? Like to see that, see her humanity rise up and meet you at such a vulnerable place.
Um, it was it was weird because usually as the parent,
Yeah.
especially the father, you're the one to,
Yeah.
nurture and hug and say it's gonna be okay.
That's right.
But it was different. She did that to me.
I love it.
So it was just kind of like a weird space.
Yeah.
Like I felt good that it showed a different side of her, which
Yeah.
I knew she had. She's very sympathetic and stuff
Yeah.
like that to other people, but to see it given to her father, it was just different.
Yeah.
But it felt a good different though.
That's right.
You know what
That's
I mean?
right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Extended family, I would say, I think, because most of them knew, I think it was just more of another confirmation. It was like, oh, this was brave of you to talk about it. I couldn't do it,
Yeah.
but I'm proud of you, for doing it.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of that,
Right.
from extended family.
Yeah. And that's an interesting piece. I want to ask another question about that. So you have your courage in sharing your story.
Mm-hmm.
I could see how that could be an inspiration to others who've had that experience. Um, do you think that for someone who is not ready to share yet,
Mm-hmm.
that seeing you express yourself and share that, do you think that that has a therapeutic effect on them as well?
Definitely,
Okay.
definitely, because I had two people
Mm-hmm.
um, reach out to me and tell
Mm.
me how much they appreciated the episode,
Yeah.
how much they learned from the episode
Yeah.
about me,
Yeah.
and then they shared their experience
Yeah.
with me
Mm.
that they had never told anyone.
Yeah.
One female and one male.
Wow.
both similar situations, and I had no clue. You know, but seeing me made them want to open up and tell somebody,
Right.
and
Right.
I was the first person that they told.
Yeah. Would you say that for a person to reach a point where they're willing to stand in front of the world and say this is my experience, do you think that it requires a person to be at some point of having begun the work of healing themselves, or is it if they're or someone who's just like I've even heard in some instances where there are individuals who have had this as an experience as a child and have suppressed it, and then at some point as an adult, the memory will come up just quickly. Something triggers a memory, whether or not it's a smell, the sight of something, or hearing something, or going back into a space, and then that memory will come up. My question is do you think, regardless of where someone is in their journey, um, freely expressing themselves, do you think it hits the same way?
I think it does.
Okay.
I think it does. Like the two people who reached out to me, I told them just the mere fact that they opened up and shared that experience with me for the first time and never told anybody, and they're adults.
Yeah.
You have now begun to start your healing process because it's going to free you in a way that you didn't expect to be freed. It's going to take time,
Yeah.
but now you have opened yourself up to begin that healing process. Right. And it just starts with you being comfortable to share that information with someone.
Yeah.
Because it's like a cancer. Like, you keep it in, it's going to eat you up.
Yeah.
And it's going to start to show itself in other places that you don't even want it to show up, or you didn't even think it would show up. And it will.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was a teen, but it still showed up throughout my adolescence and young adulthood.
Yeah, I get that. We've talked the last time we were around. We talked about shame, and we talked about anger. How does a person, since that last conversation, and maybe you might be a little bit redundant, might be the same question I asked before, but how does a person deal with and combat the shame and also the anger? Because I watched a piece and it said that children who are victims of abuse at that age as a child, especially, and I think the instance in this was looking at the abuser being a parent. And what they said is that the child won't learn to hate the parent. The child will learn to hate themselves. And this is a part of the injury that happens with child abuse. And so, how do you manage the anger and that the negative emotion that still resides there?
But like I said before, therapy helps. First and foremost,
Yeah.
It helps tremendously.
Yeah.
But even after therapy, you still have to manage your day to day. And as a young person, because you're still developing, you don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I said, I was 14, 15, 16 when it came back to me. As you said, it comes to some people as adults, but it came to me as a teenager. I never looked at myself again as blaming myself for anything that did anything wrong. But the anger was definitely there, right? Yeah. The anger's not there today, but one thing I can recognize, because I'm very self-aware, like I said, the person who did it, it was a family member of my stepfather. So growing up, and even to this day, every time I looked at my stepfather, I saw the person. So it created I put a wall up with any type of interaction with my stepdad. To this day, it's a wall there. Yeah. And so one of the things that I did do, because I was like, I can't keep holding this stuff in. I can't keep blaming him for something he didn't do.
Right.
I got to figure out a way to to deal with this.
Yeah.
So what I did, I put my big boy pants on. I called him and told him, because he would always reach out to me,
Yeah.
and I would never respond.
Mm.
He would call, never reach out. He asked my brothers, like, yo, why your brother not?
Right.
No, they didn't really understand. So I was like, you know what, let me just call him. So I did. I called him, and I was like, it's not you.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize, for how I have been interacting with you. It's not you. It was him.
Mm.
And he said he knew.
Mm.
He said, I figured that. I never really wanted to put any pressure on you, but I just wanted you to talk to me.
Yeah.
And I said, and I get that. And again, I apologize, but I just need time.
Right.
Like, it's not going to change overnight.
Right.
Like, if you call me, I might answer.
Yeah.
I might not.
Mm.
Just give me time.
Yeah.
That was, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Ask me as he gave me time. No.
Okay.
He still calls like
Yeah.
everything we're not cool. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even, my wife was just like, maybe you should go to therapy and talk about it. Maybe you can figure out a way to. No, I don't need to go to therapy for that. Like, this is what I do for a living. I know what it is.
Yeah.
I know what I need to do. I recognize what it is. Yeah. I need to handle this how it's best for me to handle it.
That's
I can't be pressured
Yeah.
to do something I'm not ready to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I'm not angry anymore. I was angry at first.
Yeah.
I'm not angry anymore, but I need time.
Yeah.
And that's my process.
Yeah.
It might be different for somebody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, the anger was there for some years, but as I got older and I started to understand things more, and again, this is me because this is the path I chose.
Yeah.
Had I not gone down the road of getting in therapy or not working in this field, I might not feel the way I feel now.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say I think therapy helps to deal with those issues.
Right.
Because I don't know, right now I still might be an angry little boy.
Yeah.
I'm a man, but I still might be an angry little boy at my stepfather because something he didn't even do.
You're right.
But I'm associating the person with him.
Right.
So everybody deal with it differently.
Yeah.
So I can't really say how somebody can manage the anger. I know it worked for me.
Right. Understood. What is on the journey towards wholeness? Where would you say you are, like if there were a point of just being totally healed and whole, and where would you say you are in the journey part of it? And I want to try to maybe make it a metric. So
Okay.
0 being someone who's never processed it. It sits somewhere in the subconscious. 10 is, you're totally, you've recovered it like an athlete recovers from knee surgery and is back playing, full basketball, as if it never happened. So 0 and then 10. Where would you say you are in that?
I think I'm between like a 7 and an 8.
Okay. All right.
Honestly. And I say that because what I just told you about my stepfather. Like, I'm still dealing with that.
Yeah.
Trying to process how to be in a better space with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then also in my personal life, like, me and my wife had this discussion all the time. Like, I'm not as affectionate as she would want me to be. And she understands why.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She totally gets it. But that still can be hard, for someone, because women like affection. Men do too,
That's
but
right.
women like, you come in, hug them, kiss them, how's your day, all that, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So that I'm still working through.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get better with that.
Okay.
Yeah. My kids, very affectionate, because she'll say, like, you have no problem with the girls, but it's me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I need more sometimes too. And I was like, so I get that.
Yeah.
She recognized it, I recognize it, and I'm working through it.
Yeah.
So I would say from those two things, my stepfather and then me being more affectionate, I think that's why I say 7 or 8.
Okay.
I think if I get past those two things, I think I'll be okay.
Okay.
Not totally okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like I said, you live with this every day.
Yeah.
But as far as like feeling whole and at peace, like I think I have just shattered all the issues that I know I had with this.
Yeah.
If those two things got in place, I think I'll be okay.
the person who was your abuser, are they still around?
Not in my life.
I mean, like,
They
but
are. They
still in
yeah.
around, and they still interact with the family
No,
members. Okay,
no. He's suffering
okay,
a lot.
yeah,
He's going through a lot.
yeah,
From what I've been told.
okay,
Like, I feel like, but I've been told based on after all that stuff came out and
yeah,
he was dealt with. I think
yeah,
his life just went downhill from there.
mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm a firm believer in karma.
Yeah.
Like, what you put out, you gonna get back.
Yeah.
Do I wish any ill will? No, I don't.
Okay.
But it's nothing you can do for me. It's nothing you can say to me. It's nothing for us to talk about.
Right.
I have no desire to see you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is why I think I need to figure out this stepdad thing because I don't want to keep projecting that onto him because of what, his family member did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that wouldn't be right.
Understood. The have you ever broken a bone?
No, sprained one before.
Sprained one?
Never broken.
Okay. What would you sprain?
My ankle.
Okay. How bad was it?
It was bad. I was on crutches for like maybe a month.
About a month. Okay. What were you doing that when you
caused it?
Yeah.
Outside playing. I don't know, as a kid, and someone it was near a mechanic shop, and he had like a motor sitting on the ground, and I ran and tripped over it.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what caused it.
It's and sprained ankle could be as bad. It could be as bad as significant as breaking.
It felt like it because that pain was horrible.
Can't put any weight on it.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, I totally get that. It's healing from psychological and emotional injuries.
Mm-hmm.
The trajectory towards recovery can be similar to physical injury, right? If for individuals who play sports, like when you get injured in sports and aspire to get back to that sport, that point of where they played before. Like if you think of a professional or a collegiate basketball player, we'll use that as an example. There is the period that it takes for the surgery, for the recovery, and then there's a part of the healing process where the doctors and the trainers will tell the person, like, your knee, you've done the work, your knee is healed to a point where you can do all of the things you did before, but there's still that trauma from the psychological, emotional part that you have to overcome. So, like, for instance, if that basketball player gets injured while driving to make a layup, but that's when they were injured, then there's always going to be a sense of fear or anxiety that they have to overcome in driving back to the lane, and that might take just as long as it took for the physical healing to happen, maybe even longer. That psychological part of it, and so if we were to look at the what you went through as far as the injury part versus kind of the emotional trying to get back to where you were, what would you say is the remnants of that emotional part that you're trying to overcome, like the psychological injury from that? I heard you mention, speaking to your stepdad, there's still some distance there, and then also, the request from your wife. But do you think of any others that still exist and that you're still trying to work through?
Outside of those two things?
Yeah.
If there is, I'm not aware of them.
Okay.
And I think I'm a very self-aware person. I know who I am.
Yeah.
I know my flaws and everything. If there is, I'm not sure. Which was going to lead me, while you were talking, I was going to ask you, do you think my wife has a point? Maybe I do need to go talk to someone about the issue with my stepdad to try to get through that, or is it something I can really do on my own? Because in my mind, I'm like, I can work myself through this.
Yeah,
But
that's a great
you know what I
question.
mean.
Um,
But maybe a professional
we,
may tell me something different, like, no, you need to go and
yeah,
figure that out.
that's a great question. I mean, first and foremost, because we work with so many phenomenal and talented clinicians and doctors, I can clearly see how having someone that can be a part of your team and support you in developing a treatment plan for yourself could be valuable. We had there's a perspective that the early part of this year I've really been kind of pondering, and I mentioned it with another one of our hosts, and that is that the perception is that we know what we look like. What I mean by that is because most of my time I've been in my own body, and every morning I look in the mirror, every evening I look in the mirror. I've seen the most number of pictures of myself probably, so I know what I look like. But in actuality, I really don't. I don't know what the back of my neck looks like. I don't know what the back of my ears look like. I don't know what the middle of my shoulder looks like. Who does? It would be my wife. It would be the people who are closest around me, the people who look at me the most, right? And vice versa. I know more about what she looks like. Behavior works the same way, right? I think I know what my behavior looks like, but I can't see the forest from the trees. If I'm in the middle of the forest, I don't have the same view as if I was sitting in a helicopter of what the forest looks like.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
One of the things that happens with behavior is we have conscious things that we do intentional and we're aware of. But then there is also this operating system, which is our subconscious, that we can't see how we're just oblivious to how that operates. So, case in point, I have I have a family member who no, I'm going to use a different example. And as an example I used earlier this week, if you were to walk on ice, right? Would you, if there was ice right here and you had to walk on it, would you have to think to walk slower or to walk very carefully?
Yeah, I would.
In actuality, you probably wouldn't have to think about it. You almost kind of
I already
naturally
know. I
know,
already
right?
know, yeah.
Exactly. But you would know, and it's the same thing like if you were walking and you went into a basement, it was absolutely dark, right? Our hands go up, and you're kind of walking and you're feeling.
Right.
We don't think about it. It's just something that we automatically do. Why does that happen? Because at one point we fell on the ice. At one point we were 5, 6 years old, and we just thought that you could just walk on ice like this, and guess what happens? Zoom.
Yeah.
And so our bodies keep the score. Our bodies store trauma.
That is true.
It's not it overrides thought or intention. It just is something that's automatic. So
That makes sense.
the idea of even like intimacy. My thought would be for someone who has been a victim of abuse that the defense mechanisms that was learned, the self-defense mechanisms learned during the trauma, some of the programming might still exist, might be totally unaware of it. Yeah. So, that is the opportunity of the exploration of it and, possibly having a therapist and so on and so forth. But then also, I mean, to be fair as well, there's a lot of good books out there. And online there are a lot of tools out there.
There are.
So a person could, find a book on how to create a treatment plan or read other stories of people who've overcome, who've been in therapy. So I kind of went through a long answer to kind of bring you back
But
around.
it hit, so
Yeah.
it makes
Okay.
sense. It
Yeah.
does make sense.
Yeah.
So I guess to your initial question about other things I need to get overcome. Um, I don't think what I'm about to say, I don't think these things are here now. And let me just put this disclaimer out there.
Okay.
I'm not advocating for any teenager
Yeah.
to have premarital sex. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm telling my story.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do feel like after that happened, I became like hypersexual. You know, historically, black men are already stereotyped to be aggressive and hypersexual anyway.
That's right.
Historically.
Yeah.
But I do feel like those type of experiences can bring you into a space that you might not would have went into so
That's
early.
right. Yeah.
So I do feel like that did happen to me. That was something I needed to overcome.
Yeah.
Like I found myself like looking at pornography a lot, you know, and all of those things that come along, you know, with that. And so even when I was in situations with females, I never could go the extra step. You know, if that makes sense. Like we would do everything under the sun, but that I could never seal the deal in a sense. Like, and that took a long time. So by the time I got to college, it was like in my mind, I was like, you know what, I can't do this no more. I got to make sure I do X, Y, Z before I turned, because I was 19. I was like, before I turn 20, I'm gonna have to seal the deal with somebody. You know what I mean? And so that was my mission to do that. And I can say I was ready or not ready, but because I was so determined, I wasn't gonna be 20 years old, still a virgin. But I feel like that experience made those things happen the way they did. You know what I mean? Because most teenage boys, you hear the stories of having sex as teenagers. I was not one of those kids. You know, I was just like trying to, but psychologically, I just was not there. To do it because of that experience. Again, so with the therapy, like I said, when in college, when I realized I need to do something to get this stuff out, you know, to handle these situations, that helped me. You know what I mean? Like the addiction was addiction, like the addiction to the pornography and all that stuff kind of went away. You know, subsided. So that was something that I had to overcome. You know, and I did. You know, so everybody journey is just different, you know, but you never know, but some are similar. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
with it's a interesting and fascinating thing about the makeup of human beings. We have inside of us one of the most phenomenal capabilities. And that capability is to survive. You know, and it is one of the reasons why mankind, human beings, have been able to send a ship to the moon. And it's all kind of predicated on the sense that we have inside of us to overcome and resist falling behind, missing out, and dying, you know. And so quite often what happens is and I'll use it as actually I'll use an example. You know, oftentimes you'll look at a person and you like sometimes you go downtown DC or any major metropolis area in this country and you see that you'll see the guy coming, he's trying to clean your windows, right? And you can see he's got a severe drug habit, doesn't have any teeth. He's not dressed for the weather. Looks like he hasn't eaten or showered or taken care of himself in weeks.
right.
You know, God forbid, sometimes you can smell the stench of him, you know, a couple feet away. I look at most people look at them and they'll say, dang, that person's just really doing bad. I look at an individual and I'm like, wow, that person's really a survivor. You know, and you know, it is it's this thing where it's almost impossible to survive and thrive in the sane space,
Mm-hmm.
because, and really, when you think of, PTSD, right? If, you have somebody who has experienced it, and we'll use the classic example of someone who's coming back from the military,
Mm-hmm.
and where they were any time of the night, there was gunfire and there were bombs and there were helicopters and there was always the threat of loss of life. And you take that person and you have them in that environment and you send them over for 3 or 4 tours.
Mm-hmm.
You bring them back into a natural home environment here in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., and their brain is still in a point of just survival,
Yeah.
right? And people look at him and be like, why can't he just relax? Why can't he just be okay? He's got the family. We're all here at the table, and he just still seems such on edge. And that's a person who is they're in that survival mindset, and then which is totally different from the thriving. So I bring that up because if you think of what when for you to have moved forward with your life, um, as a heterosexual man, who had aspirations to be married and to have children, the what you decided in that moment was tactics to survive. So I gotta, do that.
That makes sense.
Is it possible? And I don't know if you've processed it, that some of your relationships is still operating in that survival, in those survival based habits that you cultivated in college.
I would say so.
Yeah, yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, yeah. And you
And you picked up on that.
okay.
Did you not?
Did
you say? Because I feel like you did, and for you to say it, kind of hit me like
Yeah.
I am. Yeah, I do operate in
Yeah.
that, and it's actually tiring sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I sit back sometimes and be like, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm trying to survive for me,
Yeah.
and I'm also trying to survive for my family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Trying to make sure my wife is good, trying to make sure my girls are good. And I think I try so hard, it just becomes tiring. But I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
But it's funny, I never thought about someone else being able to see that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I do, yeah. I'm definitely thriving and surviving at the same time.
There you go.
And
what you find is that because the body, trauma stored in the body, it's possible that, if you're in the kitchen and your wife comes up to the side of you or comes up behind you and puts her hand on your shoulder, that there might be a moment of like tense up.
all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Like I clench.
Yeah.
To this day.
Yeah.
That happens like all the time.
Yeah. 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 And so like this is where, the opportunity of, processing this with therapy, and family therapy as well, because the thing is that, and knowing the man that you are, having worked with you for a number of years, I know how much you love your family, the clients that you work with in your community. I know you want to give the best parts of yourself, right?
I do.
So what it is that, like those little areas where, where you might go back into the survival side, you might want to have your wife help you map those out because you know that she wouldn't harm you. So
Right.
like if it were the fact that, that in certain areas that you might feel overwhelmed, maybe in that moment, the two of you guys can figure out the right way for her to approach you, embrace you, or you embrace her. That you could practice. That can.
Yeah, because I
soften,
think
yeah.
It's definitely me.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? It's definitely me. I don't think she has a problem. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't want to ever make her feel like she can't touch me. Because
Yeah.
actually, it doesn't stop her. She still does it because that's who she is, and
Yeah.
I want her to be who she is.
Sure.
I think it's more I need to work on what I need to do.
Yeah.
So I'm not affecting her.
Yeah.
Because I don't want her to get to a point where she's like, let me just stop. Because every time, it's like tense.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, it's
Okay.
definitely. I got more work to do,
Yeah. And
for
and
sure.
I really want to say that that statement is in defense of you, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what I was sharing
Mm-hmm.
is because um, you know, have you've become a phenomenal person in spite of the past.
Again, I
You know.
tried. That's I think, and I think that's what it is. I was just like, I try so hard not to let my trauma define who I am.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
work very, very hard to not,
Yeah.
and I shouldn't have to work that hard because, like, I'm gonna be who I am, and I just need to continue to try to be the best person I can be,
Yeah.
and not have to try so hard too because I don't want that. I don't want that to resurface or
Yeah.
come into my life, and it really is though. Actually,
All right.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you about that because that's an interesting way to put that. So, do you work hard on yourself, or do you try to work hard on yourself? And is there a difference between the difference? I mean, difference between the two statements, or you see them the same?
I think they're different.
Okay.
I think I try
Okay.
to work hard myself.
Okay. All right. What would working hard on yourself look like?
I think working would just be like, just let go and just let things happen the way they're supposed to happen.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like, as I'm sitting here talking to you about this right now,
yeah.
I was like, I probably should just go give that therapist a call
Yeah.
to see, like, you got some stuff you probably still you need help with. Like, you know it, but someone outside looking in could probably help you better get through this that you're dealing with still.
Yeah.
Because I'm definitely, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think of Tom Brady. Even when he was in his 40s, he still had a quarterback coach, right? Like, considered somebody who's considered the greatest. Same thing with LeBron James. Tiger Woods, Beyonce. I'm sure she has one of the best to ever do it. She probably still has a dance coach. So, those of us those who are even the greatest of us still work hard at it.
Yeah.
That try, you know, anytime I think of the word try, it hits me with like an anxiety. Like, it's almost like
Mm.
the water's here and I'm trying to keep my nose above the water, right? Um, you know, what other areas in your life do you feel like you're still trying?
Um, Probably more my manhood.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, again, I'm very confident in who I am.
Yeah.
I'm very self aware of who I am, but we all have like insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think, again, I don't want that trauma to dictate the steps or moves that I make
Mm-hmm.
or who I associate with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there are times where I feel like, certain people I might come across that don't share the same lifestyle that I subscribe to.
Yeah.
And so I might try to, like, when I'm talking with them one on one, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's fine. But when in my group, I don't shy away from the person,
Yeah.
but I may not be as engaging
Mm-hmm.
as I would like to be because I don't want a certain stigma
Mm-hmm.
attached to me. But I think I only feel that way because of the stigma of the trauma.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because a lot
Gotcha.
of times, most people, again, in the black community, most men, you think if you were sexually abused, then 9 times out of 10, are you going to be considered homosexual?
Right.
That is not true.
Of course.
There are lots of black men who were abused
Yeah.
by men or women. There are straight men.
That's right.
But even the ones who are not, it's okay.
That's right.
There's nothing wrong with that. Like,
That's right.
you are who you are. Be who you are. Embrace who you are. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
And I love everybody.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there's a part of me not wanting that stigma to attach itself to me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. It absolutely makes sense. There's we did the earliest week we did we shot a podcast, and it was based off of the term in DC, somebody being a Bama, and it had Goofy and Thax up here, and we were just all sharing like this idea that um, you know, growing up, there was a sense that you did not want to be a Bama. So there was this sense that you needed to conform to, what almost like what everybody else is doing, right? Which basically leads to toxic masculinity, right? So the sense of like, there's this man's man, and you gotta be cool like this, and you gotta dress like this, you gotta talk like this, and when the problems come, you gotta be the first to fight, and if there's an issue with the family, just like James Evans, you go get your pool stick, go make you some money, and men don't cry, that's that toxic masculinity, right?
Which all those things I felt like I got away from. You know what I mean? The older I got, especially when I became an adult.
Yeah.
All those things, like I wasn't athletic. In high school, I got on the football team just to say I got on the football team. I could care less.
Right. Yeah.
But I did it because I was like, I got to do this. Like,
Right.
I got to show these people I could care less. To this day, I'm not athletic.
That's right.
Do I like basketball? Yeah, I like it, but you won't ever hear me quoting stats of anything athletic.
Right.
But I know what's going on. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
know the game. I know what's happening. And sometimes I watch, sometimes I don't. But you won't see me in the barbershop having that. I'll be the guy sitting there just listening.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not engaging in that. Before that made me feel bad because I was like, dang, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, that's not who I am, and I'm okay with that.
That's right.
But there was a time where I would, like, feel bad about it because why I don't know it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I'm going to be considered less than a man or a guy because I don't know it. There are lots of men who do not like sports.
That's right. Yeah.
Straight men.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So, like, it's like, so certain things like that, like, I got past those things, but the situations I was just telling you about now, that's when I see the stuff coming back.
Yeah.
And I know where it comes from.
Right.
So that's something, I'm working through.
Gotcha. When you do feel challenged or when you feel insecure around the idea of like whether or not you are manly enough, what are some of the what are some of the habits or practices that you do to ground yourself?
I think I just kind of check myself in the moment.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
that.
cut it out. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Like, like know this is not right.
Yeah.
Just chill.
That's right.
So I kind of have a talk with myself, like, because I know when it happens,
That's
and
right.
it always happens like instantly.
Yeah.
I always know.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So it goes back to being self-aware. You know what I mean? And just using the tools that I know that work. So I just usually just check myself in the moment.
Yeah.
Because I always try. I never want to treat anyone bad. I never want to do that.
Yeah.
Because I won't want that done to me.
That's
You know what I mean? So I always do my best to check myself. And if I really did do something, like in your mind, like, did I make that person feel that way? I'll go and ask them, like, if I did anything to make you feel something, I'm sorry. Because it was not intentional.
Right.
You know what I mean? And sometimes people are like, okay, I hear you, but if they don't know your story as to why you act the way you act, it makes it hard for them to be like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think if people understand, then they be like, all right, well, it's okay. And sometimes they still might not care, but at least if they know the backstory of why you did what you did or acted the way you acted, it helps them understand you a little bit more.
Yeah, understood.
Because from the last show that we did, people said it's like, I understand now why you did this or why you said this or why you acted this way. Like, I get it because they didn't know.
Right.
But the last show that we did, they got it.
Yeah. That and to share with those who have had a similar experience and who are suffering in silence, what would you recommend are the steps towards recovery?
The first step, as I said in the last episode, is talk to someone that you feel comfortable talking with. A safe person, a safe space that you feel comfortable opening up to. Even if it's not a therapist, because some people are going to be anti-therapy, and that's okay. But find someone that you trust to get that out. Because holding it in, it will definitely mess you up. I know that for a fact. It will. Once you do that, like you said, there are books out there that you can read now. Like, Google is your best friend. Like, it's so much out there. I mean, you got to fact check a lot of stuff now. But do that. And if you can be open to therapy, do that. There's lots of support. Like, it's just so many resources out there. But I say the first step is just telling someone.
Yeah.
Because I know for me that just was like a big relief off of me.
Yeah.
Opening up and just talking about it.
Yeah.
And the more you talk about it, the more you will feel better. That healing process will continue, and yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
And just continue to talk about it, because like I said, talking last time, talking now, it helps.
Yeah.
You know. And here today, I had an aha moment. Like, yeah, you need to go get some therapy, sir. Like you're not where you really thought you were.
Yeah.
Like you need to, like you said, nothing wrong getting help.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. So I have two questions, and they're a little bit tough questions.
Okay.
Okay. So one question is past, present, past or present.
Mm-hmm.
Were there ever any suicidal ideations?
Never.
Okay.
Never.
Okay. Okay. And the follow-up question is, because there's a significant increase in rates of suicide ideations and suicide attempts of victims of sexual assault.
Do you know why though? That's
No.
very true. Do you know why?
Please.
Because only 37%, I think it's 30 something, 30, I think it's 37. No, only 37% of men, black men, report their sexual assaults, and they're so much higher than that.
Yeah.
But only 37% tell or report, and then the rest, like I said, suicide, drugs, drinking, alcohol, sex. It's just it's crazy.
Yeah.
Those stats.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that, because we talked about in the last episode that a lot of people that we see on a day-in-a-day basis, and we look at their behavior, and you're like, that brother seems like he's struggling. Quite often it is someone who has had that experience but has not had the either the opportunity or the resources to be able to share that with someone that they can trust.
Yeah, and there are hotlines out there too, guys. Like, there's lots of hotlines out there. If you can't find someone that you think you trust, sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there are lots of hotlines out there too that can help.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
I'm
so
sorry, what was your other question?
That was, and thank you for adding to that. The second question I was going to ask you is, there is generally those of us who have gone through traumatic experiences, and naturally when there's a traumatic experience where there's a possibility where there was something that was taken away, lost, that we can mourn, right? So innocence was stolen from you, criminally, and there generally can be a mourning process because there was something that was lost, and sometimes with mourning, there can be some degree of addiction. And addiction doesn't have to be substance. Okay, you were candid in saying that at one point you had kind of turned towards, when you were a young man, you turned towards pornography. But are there any other patterns of behaviors that that you might see as addictive that you have to manage in your life to keep from allowing it to get out of control?
Like right now?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah. And I'll just randomly throw something. So like, it could be food, it could be worrying, it could be, sometimes having, an over distrustful. So it could be things of that magnitude. But does anything resonate with you that based off of the question?
I cannot think of anything. I do worry a lot.
Okay.
I do worry a lot.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's attached to that. Could it be? I don't know.
Yeah.
I do worry a lot. I can't think of anything because like I don't think I have any addictive habits now.
Okay.
Now.
Okay.
Because I kind of recognize what they were before. I'm not addicted to food, alcohol, because I don't really drink like that. I'm not a big drinker socially, but no. And I'm married, so I'm not out here just screwing everybody. So I'm not addicted to sex. I don't think so. The worry one, because when you said that, that's the first thing I thought about. I do worry a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
What type of things you worry about?
Financial security.
Financial security.
Like I worry about that a lot.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm always trying to make sure that my kids are good. That is probably my number one thing.
Okay.
Worrying a lot, making sure that they are good, making sure we are good.
Got you. And with, does the worrying make you? Do you feel? Does it overwhelm you? The sense of worry.
At times.
Okay.
Where I can't sleep, or I wake up early and it's on my mind.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Make sure you go here, make sure you go there. Like almost to a sense, like I'm not perfect, and I never try to be a perfectionist, but I do try to make sure I do things the way they're supposed to be done.
Yeah.
And I take pride in that.
Yeah.
Maybe overly sometimes. Like my work ethic means everything to me.
Yes. You have a phenomenal work ethic. I remember somebody about a year and some change ago, one of the supervisors sent you an email or something. You were like, wait a minute, nah, my stuff is tight. And your stuff wasn't tight. Yeah, like don't send Kishiro.
So, because I worry about my livelihood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's important to me. But I do worry about that.
Yeah.
So now I think that's my biggest thing as an adult. Like I said before, younger, it was more the pornography. And honestly, not to give too much, but with pornography, comes masturbation.
Yeah.
That was a problem.
Yeah.
That was a serious problem. And that's when I knew, this is too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I overcame that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That the anxiety. So if you choose to go into therapy, it sounds like
I will. I am.
I think one of the things that you want to talk to them about is trying, and the idea that that you're mentioning that oftentimes you will worry, for some reason it seems like trying and worrying kind of go together. So just something I would say that maybe that's something to talk to your therapist about when you get to that journey. I mentioned before that I want to invite you, and I know that you've begun some conversations about like continuing the discussion around individuals who've gone through trauma.
Yes.
And in particular in our community, or any other community where because there's so many people who've
a lot of people are suffering.
Yeah.
In silence. A lot of people are suffering.
Yeah. But definitely, I want to continue this conversation. So when we get the second group going.
Okay.
Let's we'll do this again.
Yeah, I'm ready.
It'll be from your platform this time. Right?
Okay, that sounds good. You can do that.
But again, thank you for being such an open guest and participant.
Thank you for having me. I didn't expect this today,
yeah.
But it definitely helped me see some things differently.
Yeah.
Also you never know what could come out of having these conversations.
That's right.
And so so I definitely appreciate you having me.
I honor the humanity in you, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. So till the next time, thanks for listening in, and we'll see you guys soon.